13, I wrote a book called Dolores Like the River. And I want to invite you to come with me on that river on a journey of discovery and recovery. I want you to know what it's like to have a wonderful mentor and a God that believe in you no matter how your life started, where you've been, or what you've lived through, what you've done. There is always, always a path for us to be better and to come from victims to victors and from tears to triumph. That's what Dolores Like the River is about. And you can find that book on my website, lauralpaget.com, where you can get it. I also want to invite you to come with me on a journey of the heart of artists on KUHSdenver.com every first and third Friday of the month at 2 p.m. Mountain Time as we talk to artists all over the country on the Artist Nook who are sharing their inspiration, their wisdom, and their heart with you and for you. Thank you. Join us. Bye-bye. My son did this. Good afternoon. My name is Laura Paget, and you are on KUHSdenver.com for the Artist Nook. And we are here every first and third Friday of the month at 2 p.m. Mountain Time to talk with different writers, dancers, musicians, fine artists, to bring the world the gifts of so many people that we are blessed to meet and be in the artist circle with. That's what the Artist Nook does. Now, I started off today because I wanted you to get into the mood for the World Series and for baseball. And so who doesn't know Take Me Out to the Ball Game? And that particular rendition of it has been mixed and put together by my son Gabriel Tafoya, who is a budding musician here in the Denver area and likes to play around with all of his equipment that is electronic that I don't understand. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Mama's always proud of you, but that was a great rendition of that wonderful song. And the reason I picked that is because I have a special guest for you today. His name is Mr. Phil Ross. Hiya, Phil.
Hello, how are you, Laura?
I'm doing very, very well today. It's a great day, beautiful fall day, baseball weather.
Best time of year in Colorado, September and October. I wish we played more baseball past the regular season here in KUHS Field, but that's the way it goes.
Talk to your local politicians. They'll do anything to please us now, won't they?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, Phil has been gracious enough to join me today to tell you about his journey, not only as a baseball person, who has a great inside track and is going to tell you some interesting things about that world, but also as an author. And his book that we're featuring today is called Blue Hombres, and it is about Latino umpires in the major leagues. So mostly I'm going to let him talk to you about it. I read the book and I had a great time, but I always want my guests to tell our audience in their words some things about their lives, their work, and why they're doing that. So, Mr. Phil Ross, give us some idea who you are, where you're from, and some background on your baseball experience, please.
My name is Phil Ross. I'm from Arapahoe County, is where I live. Some people outside Colorado think Arapahoe County is up in the mountains. They don't know that I have a Denver mailing address in Arapahoe County. I've lived there for 14 years. Prior to that, I lived in the city and county of Denver. And I have 18 years experience as a college and high school baseball umpire. Now, we weren't officiating teams that were paid, but we got paid, so that was good. I even volunteered some games occasionally when I was first starting out in the early 80s. But through the decade of the 80s and the decade of the 90s, I was pretty much umpiring as a sidelight, but it was a passion.
Mhm.
I wanted to go to umpire school, but by then I had a family and wife, kids, big job, nice money, all that sort of stuff. But there was this empty spot, so I kept doing the umpiring, but I was 34 years old when I started umpiring. And
Okay.
that's too old in my mind to go to umpire school. They discourage you after age 30, but they don't stop you. But it's hard. And the tuition was around $4,000 for a 5-week course. And then if you finish somewhere roughly in the first 16%, the highest 16%, they'll maybe give you a minor league assignment. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that you have a two-man crew, you and another guy. Your only friend on the field is the other umpire, and you're in these little towns in the Midwest and the South and the California they got on the coast floor, and you get paid per diem. They were getting paid 29 cents a mile. Federal, it's a tax thing.
That, for mileage.
Yeah, for your mileage.
Right.
And they were getting $45 per diem. So that means you'd have to find some of these motels that they call Patel motels because everybody who owns them is a nuclear scientist from India or something like that. Like, did you ever see the movie Mississippi Masala?
No, I've missed that one.
Well, Denzel Washington fell in love with a girl from India. She was like 19 years old or something like that. And her parents owned a motel, I think somewhere in the Midwest. And it was a Patel motel. Every time you walked in there, the umpires will tell you that when you walk in there, you can smell curry powder in the air. And so, anyway, because they're apartments in the back, and they're the owner.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that these guys have to do this. Some of these guys are doing this for 5 or 6 years. And then they get graduated, so to speak, to AA ball. That's called single A or rookie ball, what I was just talking about with the Patel motel. Then they graduate to AA ball, and they get a little more money, a little more per diem, and so on and so forth. Their goal is to eventually get to the major leagues where the minimum, it's a unionized type umpire situation. They make about 120,000 minimum, but the guys who've been around who are 60 some odd years old and are still umpiring and standing, being able to walk, make $350,000, get $340 per diem. Wow. And so it's a whole different deal, but you have to work hard to get there. And you're away from your family basically from February through November when you take spring training into account.
Right.
And some of them are instructors in umpire school.
Yay.
That 5-week course I was talking about for $4,000. And they only pay for one meal there. So a lot of the guys only eat one meal because they can't pay out of their own pockets for their own meal. And it's an interesting journey there. So some of the guys in my book, even though it's geared towards the life and times of Major League Baseball's Latino umpires, as you said, these AAA guys come, they're in the Pacific Coast League Pacific Coast League on the West Coast and in the Midwest. And then on the East Coast, there's a remaining AAA league called the International League. Now they have these guys, which I address in my book, called call-up umpires, if you remember reading about that.
I do remember reading that one.
So they're called, it's a term they use, up and down guys who are call-up umpires. Up and down is not a bad word or a bad term. It's a good thing because they get to go up to the major leagues. But at the last minute, they'll send them a first-class notification, and they'll get a first-class ticket to wherever they're going. You know, they walk up to the counter and say, "I'm Joe Blow, Major League umpire. I'm going to Baltimore," or something like that. Now, there's an interesting anecdote in terms of traveling and impartiality.
Yeah.
And do you mind if I read some of these vignettes?
No, that'd be fine. I just was going to ask you to. As a matter of fact, so you read my mind. Thank you. Good.
You're very welcome.
Great.
All right, this is from the introduction, which is the first 18, 19 pages. One of the guys who was really helpful on this book was Jerry, Gerry Davis. He lives out in Huntington Beach, California, and he's a senior umpire. He's the number 2 guy of all the umpires in baseball. He's been umpiring in Major League Baseball alone for 33 years. He's worked more games than all but one guy, another guy named Joe West. These names are familiar to big baseball fans because they see these guys all the time. But since Jerry lives out in California, he likes to get assignments. He's what's called a crew chief.
Okay.
The major league umpires during the regular season are four umpires, one at each base.
Right.
Home plate, first base, second base, and third base. And then they rotate when they have plays to the outfield, and it's an interesting dynamic that's addressed in the introduction.
Right.
Now, I wrote this book, especially in the introduction, in a way that it can be grasped and embraced by the real sophisticated, quote unquote, baseball sophisticated, umpire sophisticated people like umpires themselves, but also for somebody who's never even been on a baseball diamond, isn't even interested in sports, but wants a good read. And I'm a pretty good editor too. But
yes, you are.
Well, I like to think nobody's perfect, but I'm a pretty good writer. So I try to first inform, and then secondly entertain. If I become some best-selling author or something, that's beside the point because the stuff's already in print. All right, so I'm going to read you first a passage from Jerry Davis.
Okay.
And I interviewed him in Denver when he was about ready to leave that same day after they did a 4-game series in Denver.
Can I ask just a quick
Yes,
question?
ma'am.
He still is umpiring?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This is
thank
all this stuff is based initially and looking forward on the 2016 season. So this book carries the Latino umpires and their mentors who are not Latino, like Jerry Davis, who's a crew chief, into the All-Star break right around the first couple of weeks in July.
Good. Okay. Just you're fine. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to just read this verbatim and try to be in my broadcast voice a little better.
Okay. Me too.
All right. So we were talking about Jerry Davis, but to lead into this, there's an umpire who's not a Latino. He's an Italian American named Phil Cuzzi, C-U-Z-Z-I. People have seen him do games here. He has a shorter brim hat than most umpires, and so they know him. So Phil Cuzzi was part of an Arizona-based Society for American Baseball Research, SABR, which I'm a member of.
Okay.
That's the group that had Moneyball based on its research. Well, it's a 46-year-old outfit that crunched all the numbers into a computer for 46 years now, and they've tracked every pitch. Get this, every pitch of every regular season Major League game, National League and American League, back to 1901. So when I write something like this, or somebody like me writes something like that, I'm able to recreate an actual game situation with a thing I call, we'll talk about a little later, plausible reality.
Okay.
Because if you're not there, you have to take what you have and then recreate it. Because this isn't fiction. This is stuff that actually happened. So, all right. Okay. So that said, they had a research study back in 2011, which is addressed on page 2 of my introduction here. And Phil Cuzzi was quoted about umpire. And his quote was, "People only know to hate us. We are a misunderstood group. People don't really know us, but to know us is to love us." That was Phil Cuzzi. So then I go, and I'm going to read verbatim now. Another longtime umpire who is non-Latino, yet who has mentored numerous blue hombres, the Latino umpire, in his 33 years as a big league umpire. And he unwittingly underscored Cuzzi's sentiments, reflecting on professional officials' inherent impartiality. Following a New York Mets Colorado Rockies series, that 4-game series I referred to, he and his 3 partners, one of whom is Carlos Torres, a Venezuelan umpire we'll talk about in a minute, had just completed in May 2016 this series, and crew chief Jerry Davis was in the lobby of the Denver Hotel, that one that used to be the Colorado National Bank on 17th and Champa.
Right.
And it's just it's a hotel now, but it was a beautiful Roman-like bank. Looked like a Roman temple or something. Right. And he was checking out of his hotel on Sunday afternoon and checking out to head to the airport for the crew's next assignment. So I was walking alongside him. My wife was there with me, and she got a crack up over what I'm going to tell you. When the author of this book, me, that's the way it's written here, who had moments before finished a months-long series of interviews with him, Jerry, David, casually inquired, "Where are you headed next, Jerry?" Davis quickly responded, "Baltimore." To which the author, me, followed up curiously, "Who are the Orioles playing?" "Baltimore Orioles." To which the man who has called more than 4,000 Major League Baseball games and more preseason games than anyone else, retorted just as quickly, "Don't know and don't care."
Which I would think is a great posture for somebody calling the game, because caring about one team or another could be a handicap, right?
Right. And what I was mentioning earlier is he gets assigned because he lives in Orange County, California, a lot of games in San Diego, Anaheim, LA, and then the rest of the West Coast in Oakland, San Francisco, and Seattle, and then in Arizona too. So 7 places where he gets a lot of his assignments. Okay, as he said that, "Don't know and don't care," Carlos Torres, 6'3", 218 pounds, big guy. He's the second Venezuelan umpire in the major leagues in history.
Mm.
And when he said "don't know and don't care," I said, as Venezuelan umpire crewmate Carlos Torres stood next to his elder with a knowing grin.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point out their impartiality there. Where do you want to go next?
Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, the stories, there are lots and lots of stories in this book, and I enjoyed them, but I wanted to make sure that we can't hit all of them, but I wanted you to do exactly what you just did, and that's give our audience just a taste of the kind of things that they can expect. But I also wanted to talk about a couple of the questions I had sent to you before.
Okay.
And that is, what compelled you to write this book? I'm always interested in why an artist will do a certain thing. And, just briefly tell our audience what compelled you, because the reason I asked this, Phil, is because people are out there, they're listening to us, and they have a dream or they have an interest. And many people may say, you know what, I could never write a book. Well, nobody's interested in what I have to say. But you write what you love and what you know, and you've done that, and it shows in every page. And yes, you are a good writer, and yes, you are a good editor. I have read some books I've had to fight my way through because the editing was not, and you've read that too, right? I mean, you can go into Barnes and Noble and pull them off the shelf one after another. But I really felt like these stories were put down for a purpose, and I wanted to know what compelled you to do that.
I'm gonna answer you directly, but right before you threw that at me, I wanted to share with you my favorite.
That's an umpire term, threw that at you. Okay, go ahead. All right.
Or instead of ejected you, tossed you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I've had enough. You're out of here.
I am? Okay, see ya. You and Henry. Okay, go ahead.
No, actually, Carlos Torres. No, but yeah, Henry too. I want to share with you my favorite personal passage because it was the original thing that I don't think anybody else has addressed, because I'm not a Cubs fan, but the Cubs have 103 wins in the regular season, and they're on paper favored to win the World Series. Speaking of take me out to the ball game, and Harry Carey, the old late broadcaster.
Right.
All right, Joe Madden. Baseball fans know what I'm talking about. Non-baseball fans may know him because they see him a lot on TV, because the Cubs are on TV a lot. He'd been in Tampa Bay. They had one good year, and the team languished for years. Had some good players. He finally signed like a free agent baseball player would as a manager with the Cubs a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And he's turned this franchise around. They haven't won the World Series since 1907 or 1908, and they always call him the soft, furry Cubby. All right, now he's got a very interesting personality. I personally like the guy because he's a cerebral guy.
Yeah.
And he plays chess, kind of. I mean, with the baseball players and the team and his mood.
Really?
You can see him thinking through the game. But then all of a sudden, I want people who are listening to this podcast or listening live or however they hear this, I want these people, as soon as we're done with this show, to go to Google or Bing or whatever your search engine is, type in Joe, Joe, Madden, Maddon, M like in Mary, D-Dog, Joe Madden, ejections. Type in Joe, and you're going to see page after page of him arguing or making faces or whatever with different umpires. They're all, sometimes, some of these managers have their quote-unquote favorite umpires that they pick on and so forth. Like Bruce Bochy from the San Francisco Giants. They've won the World Series every even numbered year in the last 3 cycles. This is an even numbered year, so I'm picking as a sidelight the Giants and the Boston Red Sox. You heard it here first to be in the World Series.
Who are you picking?
Giants in the National League. They're the
Yeah.
wild card because the Dodgers won the NL West that the Rockies play in, and the Boston Red Sox champions
So you're
of the
saying Cubbies ain't
AL
going?
East. They might, but the stars are against it. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
I'm,
All right.
hey,
All
you're
right.
the expert, not me.
No,
so
I'm no
I'll
expert. I'm experienced and
I
I'm
know.
knowledgeable and I try to pay attention. And
Okay.
there's a lot of holes there. All right. So anyway, Joe Madden ends up with the Cubs. So he's this guy who's very cerebral and he can go off at any time like a firecracker. So here's how I described him. Okay. I'm going to set this up because the reason I put him in the book here, he's in here twice or three times, scattered out for incidental stuff. This is a pro umpire, bias towards umpires book, and I don't know if you can tell that or not, but it leans towards the umpire's point of view.
Fine.
Okay? And
Yeah.
umpires aren't supposed to have a point of view. To wit, Jerry Davis and that incident we just talked about. All right. So anyway, Madden in Tampa Bay several years ago. This is 2009. Madden had a situation where there was a disputed home run. Brian Runge, there's all these side stories as I go along because I'm a big digressive speaker. My writing's not as digressive as my speaking. Okay, Brian Runge, who was one of the umpires down the line, called the ball a home run for Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod.
Right.
Who were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, football, Henry.
Wrong sport.
The Tampa Bay, they are called the Devil Rays, and they've since taken devil out of there for Rays. Okay.
Okay.
Madden was the manager, and he disputed the call. This was the very first use. The reason this is in the book, this is the very first use of instant replay or review in baseball. Okay, in the current system.
Okay.
One of the umpires that day happened to be Angel Hernandez, who's this chapter where I'm talking about Joe Madden is about. Okay, he was umpiring that day with this group of people that included Mike Winters. Now the other sidelight on my way to my quote with Joe Madden and then answering your question back to that directly in a minute. Mike Winters is on a crew where all the first names are M. Mike, Marty, Mike, and Mark. So I call them the M squad. I don't know if anybody else did. I'll see if that catches on after people start reading the book here, which just came out 3 weeks ago. Okay, so Brian Runge is another umpire on this crew, and he's down the line, and he said that's a home run, and the ball is near the foul pole. If it hits the foul pole, it's still the fair pole. Actually, that's still a home run.
You're good.
Anyway, Madden came out and said it wasn't a home run. He said, I want a review of that. I want an instant replay. So they did it, and Runge's call was upheld. Now, the reason I mentioned Runge other than the call is he's the only three-generation Major League umpire. He's retired now. His father, Paul Runge, they're from San Diego, California, was an umpire. And before him, Brian's grandfather and Paul's father, Ed Runge, was an old National League umpire for a year.
Okay.
The only three-generation family. All right. That said, the guy named Charlie Relaford, following all these different names, was the crew chief that day. I want to mention, too, to the people, this was in a playoff game, a postseason game. There were 6 umpires, not 4.
Okay.
That's why there were 2 down the line. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I should have mentioned that earlier.
That's
Brian was one of the umpires out in the outfield. Okay. So Charlie Relaford, I put a parenthetical paragraph after that incident with mentioning Joe Madden, and here's how I describe Madden. Rays manager Joe Madden, who more recently has assumed the helm of the Chicago Cubs, for whom he still possesses a perplexing mix of Renaissance man intellectual discernment with a challenging irascibility towards the men in blue, argued the ball was foul and asked for a review.
Yeah.
I just wanted to describe Madden there. All right, now back to the genesis of the book here. Having been an umpire for 18 years, it's not 18 seasons, 18 years because you had a spring season and a summer season. It's almost like 2 years and,
right.
So it's like 36 years equivalent. And like I said, that was my passion. I had to feed a family and so on and so forth. And I'm a writer. I've been writing since I'm 12 years old when I got an A+ on a 6th grade essay. And I've been paid to write since I was 16 years old as a stringer, what you call a part-time sports writer. Had my first full-time sports writing job before my 18th birthday because I graduated high school in June, got my job in August, and then got drafted in the Army the next year. The next year after that, that was 1965, 1966. And I never thought about things like umpiring or anything. Then one day somebody said, we need somebody to do this Little League game. It's 1981. I said, I went out there. I said, I'll go out there, and I went out there, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any of the equipment. I borrowed somebody's soccer shin guards, those little tiny soccer shin guards to go behind the plate.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't have at the time, a cup, which is an athletic
Yes.
plastic protector to be kind.
I have a son who was a catcher.
Okay,
I'm all about the equipment. I know all about the equipment.
So I learned my lesson, and I got a catalog from Wilson Sporting Goods. I'm not trying to give them a plug, but that was my equipment provider. And I ordered about $200 worth of protective equipment because I was ready to do some Little League games the next year. And I get a call from this guy who saw me doing a Little League game. He said, "Where did you umpire before?" I said, "Oh, I hadn't." This was in El Paso, Texas when this happened. And I
Go ahead.
I went ahead and got certified as you got to take a test and everything as a high school baseball umpire. And then I evolved into being a college umpire. And I started doing college games and high school games, so interchangeably.
Okay.
And when I moved to Colorado, where I umpired 15 of my 18 years, the games were always rained out or snowed out because we play in the spring. That's why I make a reference to the fall.
Okay.
And it was a bug that bit me. And I said, I want to write something about this, but I couldn't because I was working full time, and then I was traveling later.
Yeah.
And so on. Finally, when I got to quote unquote retirement age, I'm 69 now. When I was 62, I started writing books. I wrote a football book. I wrote a political book, co-authored the political book, and this is my third book here, and it's turned into a trilogy. So what's coming up here real quickly is I'm going to focus in a book that comes out in December on the Blue Hombres and how they handle and embrace the high-tech revolution, because there's a lot of stuff going on there. And this book's going to be translated into Spanish and released in November, hopefully.
Good. That's
and then,
great.
And then part 3, and that's where we're at. I'm sorry to spend so much time on the anecdotal stuff.
No, I think that's exactly what we wanted people to hear.
This is what I got bit by, and it shows, and as you said, you're a first-hand participant in reading.
Yeah.
So you read it. I'll let the listeners think about what you say, not me.
Okay.
But read the book.
Well, I gave it a review on Amazon, and I said even,
Very nice review.
Well, writers have to support each other. But one thing I also want to do is give a big shout out to our international folks and the people who are joining us. Get my glasses on here. We have some from the United States. We have some from Spain.
See?
Yeah. We have Italy and Australia. We want to thank our people for tuning in from Hamburg, Germany. And, baseball is a wonderful sport that people watch all over the world.
Australia,
and
too.
Just really quickly, can you tell us how folks can get a hold of this book? Because we are running out of time.
Amazon.com or BNBarnesandNoble.com or
Good.
Kindle.
Oh, really?
You can get an electronic version. It's less expensive, but the book's not expensive. It's only $10 for the print edition, and it's $3.49 for the Kindle.
Okay.
And it's available in certain bookstores that I don't have control over the
Right.
distribution of course.
I know.
And I'm humbled when they buy it. So, and anybody who wants a book signed by me, if there's not a book signing ceremony here in the Denver area, or if I'm traveling somewhere, they can email me at PEROSS337@gmail.com, or go to my website at philrosscoloradoauthor.com, just like it sounds.
Okay.
One L in Phil.
Good.
And take it from there.
Well, I thank you today for being with us. It was really good. There's so much in this book, you guys, and I was wanting to get to more too, but we just in a half an hour we couldn't do that. But you gave us a great overview, and I'm very
Thank you.
excited. Again, folks, you've been listening to the Artist Nook on KUHSdenver.com, and I'm Laura Paget. You can catch up with me on my website, Laura L. Paget. PADGETT.com. But I do want to tell you about my upcoming show, which is the third Friday of this month, October, and it's with a lady named Paula Moldenauer, who has written a 4-part devotional called Soul Sense. And she's been with us before at the beginning of this process. She now will be coming in to meet with us at the end of this process. I want you to hear her journey. I read these devotionals. She's a friend of mine. She's a sister in the Lord, and we have just had such a great journey together. So please tune in. And what's the date of that, folks? The third Friday of this month. You may have to look that up because I'm running out of time. But I think it's the 17th, isn't it? What is it? We're the 7th today. So then do the math, gentlemen. Help me out. At any rate, 2:00 p.m. And that will be Mountain Time, KUHS, Denver.com, right here on the Artist Nook with me, Laura Paget. Now, if you would like to meet me, I will be at the Book Bar on 4280 Tennyson Street in Denver tomorrow night, 5 to 6 p.m. for a local authors happy hour, half price drinks. And these folks in the Highlands love local authors. So come and meet me. There'll be another gentleman there too as well. So I'd love to talk to you. And also my books are available at the Book Bar and at Wings of Eagles in Golden on 905 12th Street and Abergata, Colorado Mills off of West Colfax. So that date for Paula is the 21st of this month, October. Sorry, Paula, darling. Aunt Laura's just losing a few gray cells. And 2:00 p.m. And I will be promoting that on my website. I just am so excited that you joined in with us today. I hope you have a great week. And I'm going to stop the broadcast here by saying thank you, Mr. Phil Ross.
You're welcome.
And somebody might just take you out to a ball game. God bless.